Hey everybody, it is Drea again. So today my video is going to be about why I started to transition. Besides the fact that this is who I've always been, but what led me up to this and what life was like for me before hormones. And before starting hormones and before starting my transition. So this video is going to be all about that, and I hope you guys enjoy. If you do, subscribe. Always love to have new subscribers. And if you want a specific video or any questions answered, put them down in the comments and I will definitely get back. So what led me to my transition? So when I grew up, I guess, I used to be, I was so flamboyant and just very girly from a very young age. Like the first time I was called a faggot was in kindergarten by someone that was in 5th grade. And from that point on, I just continually knew I was not like everybody else. And so it really put this hole inside of me is the best way to describe it, because I grew up in the church, so I didn't really know a whole lot about what being gay was or what being transgender was. So this whole entire time I was fighting not only my religion that tells me not to be this way, but I was also fighting the inside of me being like, hey, stop, this is who you are, you need to let go and be who you are. And so this caused a lot of strife and a lot of depression and a lot of anxiety for years and years. And it was so hard on me. And, I started cutting when I was I think I was in 3rd grade when I first started cutting. And that kept on going throughout high school. And it was not a fun time of my life. And when you don't know who you are, you lose so much sight of life and what it means to actually live. And you're so afraid of coming out and being who you are because of how people are going to react and how people are going to respond. I know that I did, at least. And so I fought this for a long, long time, and I really hated who I was. I hated everything about me, pretty much. And and people were always like, well, why do you do this? I'm like, because I don't feel right. I don't feel normal. I don't feel like me. So what other option did I have, to just feel something that felt alive because I was so dead? And so in high school, actually I was probably 13. So in middle school, I came out as gay, and my parents did not accept me at all. And so that made things so hard on me because it was like I was living around people that could not stand for what I am. And they couldn't accept me and love me for being me. And that put such a big hole in me, even bigger than it was before, because not only do my peers not accept me now, but my family doesn't accept me. And so it was this really rough time for me. And so that's kind of the basis of me until high school. So once I got out of high school, I kind of did what most young gay people do. I got a fake ID. I went to the gay bars. I got super drunk and just drowned out all my sorrows because I found somewhere that was home, and that's what everybody did. And I found people that loved me and accepted me for me, and that's what they did. So that's what I did. Just to be around them, to be engulfed in this love. And I became an alcoholic, and I really don't drink a ton anymore. I do drink, but I don't drink excessively anymore. And up until this point, I was still so unhappy, and I still was not me. And I still felt like, even though I came out, something was still not there and something was still so wrong, and I didn't know what to do. And growing up in the church, I didn't really know a whole lot about transgender people. So I didn't really know what it was for such a long time. And I always wore makeup. I always did myself up. I always wore skinny jeans and girl tank tops and like, and I did all of those things. And I just never made the connections. And then one day I met someone that was transgender and it just completely changed my world because I was like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. Like, and it just, when I finally came out as transgender, it made this huge, this weight just lifted off of me. I started smiling again. I started to be happy. I started to drink less. I stopped trying to appease everyone around me because I finally learned that I'm never going to be enough for somebody around me. And at the end of the day, I have to be okay with me. And I'm finally okay with me. And it's a great feeling. So if anybody is really thinking about transitioning, here are some things that I personally went through in my beginning stages and really needed to figure out before I actually did my transition. So a lot of people said maybe it's just a phase. So I mean, I came out almost 3 years ago today as transgender, and I've grown so much. I've built who I am, and I would never change anything about who I am right now because it has made me such a strong individual. It has made me understand that loving who you are and being who you are is one of the most important things you can ever do in your life. And not doing it is such an injustice. So if you are thinking about transitioning, that is one thing. You have to love who you are, and you have to be ready to be who you are, because people will call you out. People will be mean. People will be rude. People will say some of the most hurtful things. But when you are who you are, at the end of the day, absolutely none of that matters. None of it makes any difference because you're finally happy with who you are. And I'm not saying that there aren't going to be hard days and there aren't going to be shitty days where you're like, maybe they're right. Maybe I will never be a girl. Maybe I will never be what I want to be. And don't let those lies get in your head, because you are whoever you want to be, and you will become whoever you want to be. Regardless of anything people say, you have to be strong on that factor, because when you are finally happy with who you are, people will destroy you and try and rip you down because they see that you're happy and you're being who you are, and that you're understanding that there's a point in your life where you can finally be who you are and be happy, and people don't like that. And there will be people who don't understand it. And how I've learned to combat this is I never freak out. I never say things back. All I say is, I was like, but do you actually understand what I go through and who I am? Do you understand all of these parts of who I am? And they usually say no. And I'm like, so then what makes you think that you can have opinions on something that you never will have to go through, something that you will never have to be around unless one of your friends goes through it? And what are you going to do to that person? Are you going to just say whatever and not be okay with them just because their gender doesn't match who they are? Of course not. And so that is one thing. You have to have super thick skin. You have to be ready for a lot of whiplash and backlash and just rude ass people. And for me, it's all worth it because this is who I am. This is who I wanted to be. And this is who I'm going to be. So the other parts of this are, if you were thinking about transitioning, here are some of my warnings to you, I guess. I don't even know how to say it. It is a lot of work. It is a lot of learning your body, learning your new body, learning everything through your transition, from your hair to your makeup to what your body looks good in to what it doesn't, and just dressing yourself and becoming more passable. And from when I started to now, you wouldn't even recognize me from when I first came out as transgender. And that's a good thing, first off. But it is a process, and so many people think it's going to happen overnight and all of these things, and it's not. And your body's not going to be perfect overnight. You're not going to feminize overnight, which kind of sucks because it adds a lot of dysphoria to us, and it always makes us feel like we're not going to be good enough. But let me tell you this one time, you are always good enough. You will always get more feminine. You will be able to do everything that you ever wanted to do. And I don't have any videos of me prior to actually starting hormones. I probably might do a video sometime a little bit later on what I was like before and what I am at now, and I just think it's still a little early in my transition for that, I guess, and I would rather just be a little bit further so the timeline is a little bit more dramatic, I guess. And yeah, so that is one thing. One of the other things that you really have to get used to is feeling uncomfortable, because it is uncomfortable. It's not something that you just do and you're all of a sudden perfectly comfortable in your own skin. No, it's a battle every single day. It is a battle to be who you are, and it is a battle to stay willing to be who you are and not caving into everybody's bullshit, because so many people throw bullshit at you every single day, and it's so, sometimes you don't even know how to handle it, but you get through it and it becomes all worth it. One of the other things is be ready for an emotional roller coaster. I was pretty emotional before hormones. Once I started hormones, I was still not very emotional, but I mean, I was kind of emotional. And then I'd say like about a month ago, so about a month into hormones, I became an emotional wreck. Like, YouTube videos that used to make me tear up make me bawl. I had a recent incident with a boy, and there's a video about that. Go look through my channel and it is there. And I cried so much. And we weren't even really dating. We were talking about dating, but like losing that was just so hard. And I cried so much, and beforehand I never cried over a boy. I never cared about a boy. Boys were replaceable, so it didn't, but my whole standpoint on what I want in life is so different. Like, I want a relationship now, and I want a me, myself, and that person relationship. I used to be super open to open relationships. I used to hook up all the time. I used to do all these things, and that just doesn't appease to me anymore. So it's like, these changes happen and you don't realize them until you're a little bit further on, and it's a lot to deal with, but whatever. So the other thing that I've noticed is like my stamina for like when I work out and all of this stuff has gone down dramatically, which is very rough sometimes. And so be ready for that. Also be ready for cravings and eating. I eat all the time. It never stops. I'm always hungry. I'm always craving something. I used to not like pickles. I eat pickles all the fucking time, and I just crave these certain things, and it's just like, ugh, I don't want to eat, but I'm so hungry. So like when you are with your girlfriends and you realize like they eat all the fucking time, yeah, that's about to happen to you too. So be ready for it. But you don't really gain weight. You just like, it distributes really well. My ass is better. I haven't gained or lost any weight. I need to start losing weight because I'm overweight. But yeah, so there's some things about my transition that hopefully help you out. And if you're thinking about transitioning, hopefully this video does you some good. If you have any specific questions, again, put them in the comments. I will reply. And if you request any certain video, I will try and do it in a timely manner. So just let me know what y'all think, and post it in the comments. Alrighty, guys. Peace and love. Remember, be who you are and love who you are, and that's all that matters.